Hi everyone. So this is my first major stream that I've gonna do, and this is going to be a series that is very very close to my heart. I thought I'd start by giving you a little bit of a backstory before we dive into it and we actually do some good together. So I have been a member of a political party here in Australia for God, like probably 15 years now. Wow, 15 years, that says a lot. Um, I am a member of the Jewish community here. No, that doesn't make me a spy or anything like that. But yeah, I've been a member of both communities for quite some time. Well, obviously, one of them my entire life, and the other one for since 2011. So that's quite a long time, over a decade. And so I've seen a lot of things change in Australia, at least, and I'm also half American, so I've seen a lot change in America. I've seen a lot change around the world, and I thought I'd start doing this series, if anyone watches, to find ways to improve things, because I've done a lot of research. I'd like to think I'm very well read. Obviously, no one's infallible. Like everyone makes mistakes. So, but I think there are things that are just like sort of somewhat broken that just need little tweaks and could be amazing. A lot of things just need little tweaks, and some things need more than others. Like housing and education do need a little bit more than others. But I'm going to start the series. We'll cut it up together, hopefully, eventually, to be able to get this out to everyone so that everyone can see some things that could be fixed. There are a lot of politicians in our country that are very well-meaning, some more so than others. There are others that I have supported for years that I love to bits, and they know who they are. But yeah, there's just some things that are broken that just either take too long or just don't happen. One of the things specifically that's been close to my heart is obviously the recent tragedy that's happened. That's one that's been close to my heart, that things need to change for that. And another one is immigration, talking more in depth about immigration. And I'm the last person to be anti-immigration, like through and through. Like, I think that we should be having more people here. I have a personal story as well, which I can touch on now. So I dated someone for a little while. We'd been friends for many years. And she was Ukrainian, and so I tried bringing her into the country, and I had gotten, and I've told the story so many times, I had gotten a email when I had gone over and seen her, and the email read to the effect of basically, "Sorry, we're full," which is ironic because, as anyone who lives in Australia knows, we're in a housing crisis, and that's not the part to it. But her parents are engineers by trade. They build skyscrapers for a living. And I said, look, I can't bring her directly and her family because she has to travel with her family because she is the main translator of them. But her family are very, very qualified. Her dad's an engineer, not a civil engineer, but her grandmother had 10,000, 20,000 people underneath her. Her mother also worked in the civil engineering space. He worked in the mechanical space. There's so much that these guys have. And I said, look, I can't put them up, but there's a facility right there, 6 months. Just put them in there, get them their qualifications, and then they can help. They can help build. Someone can, get them a job, and they'll be set. And, the mother knows a little bit of English. The grandmother knows no English, but that's what she's for. She's a translator. And you don't need to, because engineering is engineering. There's been countless stories that they've actually told me as well, which is quite funny. And I'm getting notifications from NVIDIA. There's been countless stories. One particular story was that I was talking to her about housing, and I'm like, oh, we've got this housing. She's like, your housing in Australia sucks. And I'm like, what do you mean it sucks? And they turn around to me and they go, well, they don't use the right cement. And I'm like, what do you mean they don't use it? Isn't cement? And they're like, no, there's good cement and bad cement that crumbles. And Australia uses the cheap stuff. And I was like, does that mean that's why, the houses, it's hard for them to knock down in Ukraine? Like, I mean, yes, they're getting bombed, but and she's like, yeah, exactly, because they just stay because they've got good cement. And you build houses out of wood, and no one in Europe builds houses out of wood. It's all brick, all cement, all concrete, all steel, everything like that. And also when they get their houses, which I think is really cute, when they get their houses, they don't get the house, they get the frame, the apartment, they get the frame, and they can customize it however they want. So you go in there, you have a person there, and you say, I want this here, I want that door frame, I want that color, I want this, I want that door, and they'll customize the entire apartment. And I'm like, that's beautiful. That's very beautiful. Apparently the same's in Israel too, and a couple of other countries, like Russia and stuff like that. Apparently it's very, very common in those Slavic countries as well as in Israel, and I think also some parts of the Middle East as well. It's very, very similar. So I just thought that was really cute. I think, Dubai is another one that does that, which is kind of cute. Anyway, so yeah, they don't have the right cement. So anyway, I'm getting a little bit off topic. So and I tried to bring her in here, and they just turned around and said no. And then the irony was, 2 weeks later, they turned around and gave 2,000-3,000 visas to people in Gaza. Now, I'm all for humanitarian. I love it, right? I think we should be helping people. But my gripe is, on that particular point, is what are the chances of someone that isn't part of a terrorist group coming into the country during a war? Chances are pretty low. It's most likely going to be someone of that nature coming into Australia or America. So you're basically putting your own citizens at danger, and you're not giving it to people that really need it. You're giving it to people that can get out, which are only them. They're the only ones because they control the entire region. So that was my gripe. I'm like, look, I want people here. I want her here. I want them here. We're no longer together, which is fine. We're still friends, which is great. She's a lovely, lovely human being. But they brought them here, and I tried bringing her here, and they said no. And I had waited 2 years. They didn't give me a single response. There was no phone number to call. There was nothing. I literally just had to wait in line. It almost makes you want to put them on a boat, which is really, really bleak because people pass away on that. But I digress. So yeah, I'm big for immigration, but there are things that we need to do. We need to change immigration. There are things we need to change across the sex. So I'm going to start the series. I'm going to start talking about, I think, I've got a video. I'm just going to make sure that my stream is working. Oh yeah, my stream is working. Cool. So we're going to start by breaking down, I guess, what happened, how it happened, and then find ways to do it. There are slight tweaks. I think I've got it down to probably about 10 to 15 different points of things that we can tangibly do. The last thing I want to do is actually change things that would take away people's freedoms. There are some freedoms that Australians are willing to get rid of, like when it comes to gun control. A lot of people are willing to reduce it, contrary to what some people might say, like the gun lobby and stuff like that. There are a large population, like we're talking 80-90%. We don't have the exact figures, but it's a very sizable population that are happy to not have guns. So that can change. That's fine. But when we start talking about, freedom of speech. I want that, but I also want that to be checked. Everything in my view needs to be checked. It doesn't need to be completely enforced, but it needs to be checked. So that's one piece. The other thing as part of that I just sort of want to caveat for everyone is for those who don't understand Australian politics, we use the Westminster system. It's kind of like a mix between America and the UK in a way. We don't have unelected officials. Everyone is elected, but we follow the same framework as the UK, whereby you have a lower house and an upper house. The lower house is individual representatives that are for a population. So that population might be 100, 200,000 people, and there's 150 of them. It never changes. It always goes up. They have been talking recently, just like little chatters. I don't think it's going to happen. Most politicians are against it because they just know that it's not a good vote winner to have more politicians. So a lot of them have said that they don't want it. But there's about 100 to 150,000 people as far as I'm aware. I think it's 150 now. They represent a population. So all of the districts, they're all actually made completely independently to the AEC. Both parties have said, we just don't touch it. Like, just let them do their thing. They're pretty good. They usually go on boundaries of roads and rivers and stuff that's kind of like significant. So, like, at least where I live, it's funny, the state, the local, and the federal level kind of are all aligned. It's very rare for that to happen. So they're all aligned because the population has just sort of increased on average with everyone else, which means that they haven't really had to change the borders very much. You know kind of where it is. You're like, if you're in this area, you're in this area. So you could probably picture where that is just by that, the Queenslander. So there's that. So we have that. Then we have the upper house. Now, the upper house is actually based on a state level. So each state and territory gets a certain number, and based on the percentage of votes, that determines who is the elected official. So they vote one, and then they go to the next, and then they go to the next, and then they just filter them up until a certain percentage gets hit by each of those parties. And like with the lower house and the upper house, everything is preferential. So you have to number 1 through 8 or whatever the number is. So I'm bad, and they must hate me at where they're doing the election counting. I vote below the line. So on the Senate, you can vote the party that you want, or you can vote individual people. And sometimes that can be as many as 120. And then they have to vote it. So they go through and go through and go through and go through, and then they get it. In the Senate, if you vote above the line, it just goes to the first person on the list, and then just goes down like that. But if you vote below the line or wherever, it goes by the individuals and so forth. And so the percentages kind of they have a whole system that works out where things go and where they fit. It gets very, very complicated. The lower house is a lot easier. It's just you take the pile. Okay, who's the lowest one? Let's take all their votes and move them up to the next. And then, okay, they haven't made it, move it up to the next. And then you just keep going until you get the percentage. And so when you start getting like a three-way race, that's when it becomes interesting, because you just have all of those fitting. So good example is you had Griffith, Ryan and Brisbane. They all had three-way races, like very tight three-way races, especially Ryan. Ryan was almost to the neck, like 10 votes probably could have swayed it. It was very, very tight, and in the last election, and it has been for the last few elections, just because it's a hodgepodge of people, a lot of people voting one way and voting another. That could change. It's hard because we're in a federal system, so a lot of people are voting on the Prime Minister, even though they should be voting on their local minister. They tend to vote with a particular person. If they don't like that person, it affects those seats. So it could change. If you have a good one, it could go back to Liberal. It could stay with Greens. It's unlikely that it'll probably go to Labor. The only reason why it would go to Labor is if Labor beat Liberals, but Liberals tend to get more always. You would have to see a massive chunk out of the Liberals going to like One Nation and even Labor for that matter for that to change. It's just unlikely it's going to be Labor. You'd have to, yeah. It was a very close race, but you'd have to have that. So you'd want to have, yeah. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So, there's a few things that could change that we need to you need to do. The reason why I explained the Liberal Labor thing is because that we have two major parties, Liberal and Labor. They're pretty moderate, both of them. I support one of the major parties. Those who know me will know exactly who that is, and those who don't, some might know who it is. It's for me. If I want to explain it, the Liberals are all about like freedoms and stuff like that. So it's all about saying, okay, everything's free market, all of that stuff. Whereas Labor is more about, okay, well, let's focus on the workers. Let's get the workers there. But with both of those, they have caveats. So if you have the Liberals having it all be free, you can create monopolies really, really easily, right? That just happens because, unless you have regulations, if it's not in check, things go wild and people take advantage. Whereas in Labor, if you have too much control, it becomes less of a free society. It means that you're governed by the state. It means that they can dictate stuff. And so that reduces competition. That says, hey, the state's doing everything and people can't come in and try to make ends meet and try to be successful in their own right because the government's telling you what to do. You start becoming like China. So both of them have issues. Both of them. We have the best system we can at the moment, but at least with both of them, they're trying to find that balance. It's a balancing act. So usually you'll find a lot of Australian politicians understand this. You'll usually find that most of them are disagreeing on the process. They're agreeing on the substance in an essence, but they're disagreeing on the process. There are some instances of them disagreeing on the actual substance of it, but in general, they're agreeing on that. They're just disagreeing on a process of it. So where one will take more of a free market approach, the other one will take more of a authoritarian government controlled sort of approach, which both of them have sound. I can see both sides of that. So, So we're going to watch a few videos about that, and then we'll probably dive into it. We'll formulate it. And when I'm done, what I'll probably do is I'll probably email both parties. I might not do it on the stream, but I'll email both parties and say, hey, I'm doing YouTube channel and I've done an analysis. I've come to this, and those who are on my stream have also helped if there are any. And I've come to this conclusion that these are sort of the things you can do without taking away people's freedoms, but also allowing for things to be fixed because, So let's get into it. I just want to make sure my audio is working in the stream. I am using a microphone here, but I'm not too sure that it is working or like that it's selected to the right one. So I'm just going to quickly check this one sec. Okay. So let's get into it. I just want to make sure my audio is working. Okay, so my audio is working. Cool. I've gone in there. So let's move across and let me get browser up. You can probably see my entire browser. Let's go. I'm just going to quickly get rid of this. Let me just quickly hide. Let's go there. Okay. So let's go into YouTube. So we're going to look at, and then I'll get a Word document here. We're going to look at there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Mr. Beast, as always. We're going to look at a video, and I believe it's The Guardian that did a video, and we're going to watch this together, and then it's going to break down the actual events of the day. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at like sort of try to look at the events that led up to not just the day but overall. I don't have a video yet, so we're going to have to look for that, which will probably give a better picture for everyone to sort of show here is the lead up in Australia. I could probably explain it, but it's just easier if there's a video. Usually there's a really, really good video on this. So I think that's the video I want. And then I'm going to look at this one here because I'm not a big fan of The Guardian, but they do some pretty good analyses. Another one that I do like looking at is The Telegraph. They do a couple of good things. And having said that, like they're pretty left-leaning, and I'm a moderate, and so I get oozy when I see very far left and very far right because they don't really come together. But these are actually pretty good analyses. So let's see if there's a Telegraph, because the Telegraph have done a couple of really good ones on Ukraine. So I would suspect that they would have done a good one on
the BBC.
History. Where does England go after next? Yeah, it's very, very UK based, so I don't think there's going to be anything here. Okay, let's look at Australia anti-Semitism, and let's see if there's like an analysis on it. Analysis 2 years. Nope. Nope. We might have to create it ourselves. We might have to do it ourselves. These are all fact checks. Nope. Fostering anti-Semitic activities. This is Sky. This is actually a pretty moderate. Skies tend to be very right-leaning, but this looks like a very moderate interview. But I'm not going to do that. Now, here's something interesting. So there's an interview here with him, and I actually probably want to see it. It's with a guy named John Howard. Now, for those of you who don't know who John Howard is, John Howard was a former Prime Minister probably about 10 to 15 years ago, back when I actually probably just joined politics. Actually, no, he wasn't. I joined after. He left in 2007. Yes, so I was after. So John Howard... strongly conservative. He got a lot of flack. He actually introduced our gun laws. He is probably the most famous politician that has existed in the last 20 years. Like, he's one of the tops. We do have others like Hawke and Keating and stuff like that, but he's probably the most prominent that's been out there in the public, at least in the last few years, especially since October 7th. But he introduced gun laws considering he was a conservative, and a lot of people in his party love guns. Like, it will not in a lot in the party, but there's a lot of people on the conservative side that are guns, and he got a lot of flack for it. He took a lot of risk, a big gamble, but he introduced them, and Australia hasn't seen, until last week, hadn't seen a mass shooting since 96. So that was almost 20 years. It's crazy, and it's sad that the first one that happened was against the Jewish population. I can't say I was surprised, which makes it even worse. But it's good that at least it didn't happen for almost 20 years. So there's just a lot that we need to learn from it, a lot we need to go. Here's another politician. He was from last election cycle. Bondi Beach, response. One thing I will say from a personal note is I know the government on all levels have really not done much. It's always been sympathies when bad things have happened, but they just sort of let things slide. This person here is actually really prominent. And I'm going to just watch this video because he is the head of the Jewish body in Australia, ECAJ, Executive Council of Australian Jewry. Obviously, you know who that is, most of you guys. Let's see. We'll also watch this one here. So this lady here, this one here that's just coming up, Gillian Segal. So Gillian Segal was elected by the Prime Minister, the current Prime Minister, to implement a report, and he then just didn't implement it, which has a lot of people angry in Australia. I cannot find a video I want. Great. What we're going to do, it's going to take a while for me to do it, but I am going to probably do it while we're watching the video, and I'll be listening in on the video, but I'll be looking for it at the same time. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to be looking for some videos and footage of the last 2 years, a timeline of events that kind of led up to this. So this anti-Semitism in Australia has been brewing a lot for the last few years. And so there's been brewing pretty much for 2 years, if not more. We've started seeing a lot of stuff in the streets, a lot of protests and the like. Now, it's okay to protest, but to protest every week, we just haven't had that for any of the other causes that people have spoken on. It's all on Jews, and it's just been allowed to fester. There's been words like globalize the intifada, which, if most people know, that I word is very, very synonymous with chants for death and destruction to Jews, Muslims, Christians alike. That's what the first and second one was. The third one, we've seen the fruits of that a week ago. So let's watch this 10-minute video, and then I'll start breaking it down. I've had a lot to think about the last few years, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Video, maps and footage from social media show how the deadly Bondi terror attack unfolded on Sunday the 14th of December. We lined up the sound of gunfire to piece together what happened minute by minute and several different angles. It's 6:40 p.m. and hundreds have gathered at a small park on the beach for Hanukkah by the sea. It was the first day of the Jewish Festival of Lights. At about the same time, the alleged gunman, Naveed Akram, and his father, Sajid Akram, emerge from their silver hatchback parked on Campbell Parade. Sajid is confronted by Boris Gurman and his wife, Sophia. Boris attempts to tackle Sajid and tries to wrestle the high-powered long-arm rifle from his hands. The couple are killed. Naveed and his father walk 15 metres to a footbridge, giving them an elevated view down to the park. The shooting begins. People in the park try to flee. And all the way to the beach and the sea, people are reacting in terror at the sound of gunshots. Back at the bridge, Sajid descends a short staircase at the end of the footbridge and walks towards the park, while Naveed continues to fire from the bridge. Meters away from the park, Ahmed Al-Ahmed, an unarmed man using the cover of a car, approaches Sajid and lunges at his neck and arms. He disarms Sajid and points the rifle towards him. Ahmed does not shoot. Sajid stumbles and retreats. Ahmed Al-Ahmed then places the weapon at the base of a tree. At about 6:47 p.m, Sajid starts to walk back up the steps of the footbridge and picks up the third rifle. At this point, shots appear to be fired back by police officers at the scene. By our count, from available footage, there have been 61 gunshots. The gunmen and police briefly exchange fire. Sajid suddenly reels back and collapses on the ground.
Fucking die, cunt! Die!
At 6:50 p.m, Naveed also crumples and falls to the ground. For the first time in 6 minutes, the shooting stops.
He's down, he's down! He's down!
Hey, I swear to God, I'm not joking. One step shot, no more right. Hey! Hey! You have something on you? Don't go there then. Don't go. You have a gun on you? The guy just got shot.
Unarmed civilians reach the bridge first, seconds after the attack stops. As police reach the bridge, from both sides, scuffles appear to break out. More police swarm the footbridge minutes later and attempt to keep members of the public from approaching. They begin CPR on Naveed. After the attack, ambulances take 42 patients to hospitals across Sydney. At around 8 p.m, New South Wales Police raid the Akram's home in Bonnyrigg. And at 10:13 p.m, police announce they have found improvised explosive devices in the shooter's car. Bomb disposal experts defuse the bomb.
So one of the things I want to say about this that they didn't really explain, and it's probably because of when they did it, a lot of the data they got was really good. They got it from police sources and other specific areas after asking, is that a lot of the questions have been raised. One of them particular has been raised that there was 2 to 4 police officers on the scene. Now, I'm not going to tell you how much the Jewish group have. There's a security group that was set up about a few years ago, which I actually haven't put in there. Security group that was set up a few years ago by the government to prevent this. They also set it up for the Muslim groups, but they set up money to help prevent these types of attacks. But they had a lot more. I'm not going to tell you exactly how many because that is trade secrets. We just don't release that just for safety reasons, because an opposition would know that and then be able to neutralize all of those guys. So we just don't do that. That's just security. Anyway, so they only had 2 police officers, which was very, very surprising. Now, in their defense, and I'm not going to defend them because I'll then do a caveat to that defense, which blows it out of the water. In their defense, there was a lot of events, a lot of Hanukkah events throughout the city. But the caveat to that is, this is Bondi. If you're a terrorist and you're thinking like a terrorist, where are you going to do it? You're going to do it on the steps of the Opera House. You're going to do it on the bridge. You're going to do it in Bondi. You're going to do it in those big hotspot areas because that creates the most panic and the most fear. So to have 2 there was pretty ridiculous, right? Like, this is just, it's not on. So I just want to stipulate that there was only 2, which is the most shocking part to it. And I think it's things like, I'm going to give them, like, that would be their only defense, is that they were stretched. But they shouldn't be. And even Min says that it was unacceptable. Like, he's probably been the biggest supporter of all of them. He is a member of the Labor Party, and he has just come out really, really strong. The Prime Minister hasn't been, which he's actually the same party. So it just goes to show the polarization of 2 particular leaders. There's a lot said about the Prime Minister at the moment. Personally, my thoughts on him is that I just don't feel like he is the right leader. I think they could do a lot better within the Labor Party. Yeah, I might get in trouble with some of my friends, but they could do a lot better. And I would say the same thing in any party. I would say the same thing that, there are certain people that would probably be in the Liberal Party that aren't the right fit. They're just not. We just know it. I'm actually very surprised how much Susan stepped up, very much, and it's a pleasant surprise. Like, she's actually done pretty well. It's been hard for her to keep her right at bay. But overall, she's done pretty well. So I won't give her that. But yeah, Albanese, he's the Prime Minister, so he just hasn't stepped up to where he should be. And a lot of people have walked all over him, and that's just probably just his personality. He probably would be better suited in a portfolio as opposed to being the Prime Minister, but he was the best that everyone had at the time, which is kind of like a function of both parties that they kind of need to fix, I think, how they elect them. I would like to see one, particularly in the Liberal Party, knowing their constitution very, very well, and knowing the Labor Party's constitution pretty well. A lot of them is union and stuff like that, but I know the Liberals very well because it's very, very like egalitarian. It's very easy to understand the Liberal ones. Labor's a little bit more complicated because you've got to include unions and other factions and stuff like that into the percentages. But yeah, I understand Liberals. So actually what I would like to see, and it could probably go into the Labours as well, is that everyone gets pre-selected like straight off the bat. So they know for 2 years that person's going to be there. And then those people are the ones that elect the Prime Minister, not just the immediate politicians. So make it all of the people that could be candidates, because at the end of the day, if you want to win a marginal seat, right, you're not going to win them if you've got someone who's far on the left or far on the right. You're going to win them with the centre. So both parties have this issue at the moment where they've got people that are running their parties outside of, like, well, I'm not talking about individuals, but I'm talking about groups that are on the fringes. So you tend to have that extremism where we kind of want moderates. Most people in Australia want a moderate. They want a moderate both left or right. Like, they don't really care. They just want someone to run the country effectively and to be in the centre, to be reasonable. That's just what they want. I mean, that's why Josh Frydenberg is actually really, really popular outside of his district. He was a marginal seat where they had like a multi-race, but and they got over, like Monique got over through the others who was his opponent, through preference deals. Not preference deals, but preferences. We don't really have preference deals in Australia. Preference deals are basically giving your votes to someone else if you lose, but they say preference deals, when they do it, it's like, I'll give you my votes if you give me your votes. But in the end, at the end of the day, it's the individuals voting that person second. A lot of people follow the ticket. A lot don't. I have a few examples of local elections, at least, where people don't follow the ticket at all. They get given a ticket, completely don't follow it at all. They're just like, nah, I'm not voting for that person. I'll vote for whoever I want. Leave me alone. So, yeah. So, yeah, I just don't think he's very, very strong. But this gave a pretty good rundown of the events that occurred. Before I go into the next videos and we watch all of them, I haven't really been able to get it, but I've found a few, and we're going to go through a few photos, through a few web pages, and I'm just going to break it down for you so that everyone can understand the timeline of events. I'm not going to do any fancy music. I'm just going to break it down, and if we cut this up, I'll explain all of it. I'll explain the videos. I'm going to turn my video off, and I'm going to talk you through all of this. So I'm going to create a new scene in my video. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to go through these timeline of events, and these events are going to be explaining how we got here. So we're not going to start back in history. We're not going to start in 48. I can go on that for days. You know, there was no real country. It was a region within a country. The Ottoman Empire, that's what it was. It wasn't a country. There were Jews back then. There were Christians back then. There was Muslims back then. And there were actually, surprisingly, to both sides, they were both pretty even. There were about 50,000. Then what happened is you started having this Zionist movement to say, hey guys, come back to the homeland, right? They came, and then as a subsequent from them developing that land, you had a lot more Muslims come in. So theoretically, it was a pretty even split. So when someone says to me that, you know, there were no Jews and there were no Muslims, they're actually both there. They were pretty even. So both of them don't have a claim to that land. They don't. It's irrelevant because it was conquered back and forth. But if you're talking about logistically from other perspectives, it's only the Jews. There is no Muslims because that Arabs, as they call themselves, are from Arabia. That's Arab, right? Arabia. That's down in the peninsula, down in Saudi Arabia. Hence, Arabia, Arab, right? And then you start talking about Jews, Judea. That's Judea. That area is Judea. You know, Yehud, Judea, that whole area, right? And like that actually, they're both similar derivatives from Jerusalem, like Jews, Israel, all that stuff. They all sort of represent that. So if you're talking about that, then it's Jews that's from that region, right? Even the ones from other countries. Because if you start talking about history, right, and you start talking about all these things in Russia, in Ukraine, in every other country in the world where Jews were, they weren't considered natives to their country. They were always considered other. You know, they always had to pay, in Muslim countries, a jizya tax. In Russia, they were considered second class. They were like, you're a Jew. You're not a Russian. You're not a Slavic person. You're not a part of the USSR. You're a Jew. We're going to give you enclaves in Nazi Germany. Same thing, over and over again. That's just how they are, just throughout the history. And it's sad. It's something that we have to live with, which is why I'm like usually pretty okay with it because, I mean, what else, right? Like, I don't like it. Like, I hate it, but I have to live with it. So just giving that context of all of that history. But yeah, there's about 50,000. And then it got more in the 1800s, and then more and more and more. And then now we have what we have today. And yeah, so there you go. There's a history of Israel in God knows how long. But way back when, before the Romans, that's what Jews were. Second temple. Will they build another temple in my lifetime? Maybe. Who knows? Only time will tell. I mean, the Temple Mount, the big gold thing, that was only built as a temporary structure. Most of it's temporary. Like that thing there, theoretically, only built as a temporary structure. So they have to constantly repair it from memory. And Al-Aqsa is actually in a different section, which is funny when people talk about Al-Aqsa. It's actually a different place. It's not that dome. That dome is not Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa is a few miles down. Actually, two things. One of them is if you start digging up the bones, like they dug through the things. They wanted to create another more permanent more permanent structure. I'm talking about the Muslim groups in Jordan, because Jordan controls the top of it. They wanted to dig it, and they threw all these rocks off the side before Israel could find out, and basically said, no, you can't do that. So they brought bulldozers in there and started doing it. They threw them off the side of the building, and all of them had Jewish artifacts on it, which is ironic, right? All this stuff that's fallen down is all Jewish. It's the same thing with a lot of the what they call the West Bank, and I call Judea Samaria. A lot of that is all like you dig it up, and there's just Hebrew writing. They can all read it. All Jews can read it. It's well, not Jews, but all Israelis can read it. So, yeah. So, and that's that. And then you've got the you've got all of those people coming in, doing all that stuff, cultivating the land, and then eventually it becomes what we know today. So, and language, all that stuff, it's all everywhere, the whole country. It's a beautiful country. If you get a chance to visit, I would strongly urge it. People are lovely, food is amazing, and the great thing is like shawarma is kind of like cultural to that region. So Jews, Christians, Arabs, everyone ate it. It's a staple. So you go there and the food is amazing. The beaches are beautiful. Go there during Independence Day as well if you can. It is summer the day before because it's Memorial Day, but afterwards everything opens up. It's lively. People invite you in. Food, drinks, everything. It's homeland. A lot of people love it. So there's a lot of beautiful places like, Ukraine's gorgeous. Odessa, I love Odessa. It is spectacular. Same with Kiev. Kiev has a lot of culture there. Yeah, in Europe. Anyway. So getting back to it. So we're going to break this down. I'm going to try my best. It's going to be hard. So I think the best thing we can do... You can't hear me. Sorry, you can't hear me. So I'm going to have to put my audio on. Just give me 1 second and then we'll go back to it. Okay, you can hear me now. Okay, cool. So, I think it's best to start at 2023 because we can't start earlier because that's when we start talking about Israel. We're talking about Australia here. We're talking about how things occurred here. So, let's go back to... I found this, another one on The Guardian. I found this and we're going to just quickly go through it. So, these are just going to give you talking points. So, October 7th, everyone knows the term October 7th. So, October 7th is when... the H group came into Israel and started attacking all these civilians. And there were some military, but most of them were civilians, which is damaging, right? And there were a lot of Arabs that were caught up in it. There was a festival on, and so it was the worst attack since the Holocaust. It was really, really bad. But the thing is, Israel didn't respond for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Like everyone kept saying no, no, no. And the thing that kind of gripes me, especially about Australia and America and other countries, they said, hold restraint. But you wouldn't do that to any other group. They didn't do that on 9/11. They didn't do that in any other situation. But with Israel, for some reason, they always say hold restraint. So it's like, why are you saying it to them but not to everyone else? There's always a double standard. I found this in Israel. There's always a double standard with everyone and Israel. And a lot of them like to comment on Israeli politics, but recently one of the biggest, counteracts to that, which is quite funny, is that Israel's been commenting on Australian politics, and they said, stay out of our country, stay out of our politics. Well, hey, wait a minute. You've been talking about Israel for the last 2 years. So, no, we won't stop talking about it. These people are dying, and you're doing nothing about it. So, I'm firmly with Israel on this one. You should not be being hypocritical on this point, Israel, I'll be the first one to say Israel has problems. They do. Like, they go through governments more than, birthdays that I have a year. Like, it's ridiculous. They go through a government like a year. It's insane. I mean, there's a saying in my faith, which is, if there's 10 Jews in a room, there'll be 11 points of view. Like, it's just how it is. Just how it is. But they had an opinion on Australia, and Australia cut back, but they're like, I'm firmly on Israel's side. They don't know how to argue against Australians, but that's what I'd be saying to the Australian government. Hey, wait a minute. You guys have been commenting on our politics for the last 2 years. No. Like, we can start commenting on yours. Thank you very much. You haven't done anything. So, anyway. And you could probably tell where my views are on this. So, I'm pretty critical of the Australian government for all these reasons. So, not even 2 weeks after, 2 days later, as if it was planned before the event, because to run an event, to plan an event, actually takes a lot. You have to get permits, You have to go to the streets. You have to drum up support, and you have to have everyone out there. So it was very surprising that they had people within 2 days, basically a day, because October 7th is essentially October 8th for Australia. So it was like within a day. But 8th to the 9th, basically, right? The gap was very, very small. But we had people chanting, and the Australian government, like, they came out and said, oh, they didn't say what everyone thought they said, which was F the Jews. They said, where's the Jews? Which still isn't good, as if it's almost better to say, oh, you know, they're saying where's them. Well, like, what does that even mean? Like, if we break this down, what does where's the Jews mean? What does that mean? You're going to lynch them once you get them? Like, what does where's the Jews mean? It doesn't mean anything apart from a chant to attack them. Why would that be good to say where's the Jews? Like, what that's anti-Semitic. Like, that, to me, it's like there is no rational reason for them to say even where's the Jews. None. Logically, there is nothing. It's just trying to reduce the harm to make yourself look better. So, where's the Jews, F the Jews, gas the Jews, all of those are horrible statements, and no one got arrested for it. No one. They got arrested and then put on remand. None of them got convicted of those chants. Not a single person. And what makes it worse is that during COVID, we had these mask mandates, so people were able to wear masks. So now people are wearing masks. And this is probably one of the issues that I'm going to fix, that I want to fix, right? This is going to be a really tough one to do because, some people might be sick. So, yeah. So let's do this. So they did that. Then we go into 2024, right? That's cutting out a lot of things. So I'm going to add a few in there. One of the ones that they also did, and I'm just going to take these as a timeline, and I'm going to go timeline. So the first one is that 2023, October 7th, attack on Israel. 2023, October 9th. I'll take some of this. We had 2 days after this. We had 2 days after attack, pro-Palestinian protests, Mass City Town Hall and Opera House, which had been lit up in white and blue in solidarity after Hamas attack. And then it was there. There's a few things I'm going to say in between here about A, B, C. I just want to put in there. So that's October 9th. Then what we have is we have a report that I believe it was 2024. Let me see when it was. This one was May 2024. I was correct. May 2024. So you start having throughout the entire time of 2023 to 2024, you start having protests on streets. You also have encampments at universities. Now, this is like the universities don't know what to do. Like, they're literally like, what do? Like, we can't kick them off. Like, we're supposed to be freedom of speech. So the unis don't know what to do. So where I live, they actually, in Queensland, we had a group called Camp Shalom that set up a counter tent to sort of say to the university, it's okay if you kick us off, you need to kick them off too. We're going to stay here until they stay here. And it was pretty civil, but you started on the southern things. You started people harassing students, asking for IDs, and causing nuisances. So that started happening, right? You had encampments at universities, and they just didn't know what to do. So it gets to a point on May 16th, the Australian government implements a inquiry. It's actually not the government that does it. It is the opposition leader calls it. And at the time, that was Peter Dutton. And they organise an inquiry. Now, they do manage to get a few of Labor on there, but it's few and far between. So they don't declare it, but there is the Labor do call it out. But on May 16th, it looks like, when is it? I don't remember the exact date that it occurred. So I think 2024, it was January. We had the January. We had the counter encampment. I remember because I got back in Australia in January through to Feb. I got back from where I was going. So, encampment. And then we had the call out. That was that. The call out. And then I think the inquiry. Let me try to find the inquiry. Inquiry into anti-Semitism. Okay, cool. So it wasn't for a year later. Perfect. I'll just put that in a year later. Inquiry into. So it's a joint committee. So it took a year for them to do that. Great. Okay. So, in May, we have a call out. We have MPs' offices vandalised. We have MPs' office vandalisers. We have, and I believe it was Dreyfus. Who else? Yep, McNamara. Josh Burns was another one. So the interesting thing about both of those is they're Jewish as well. You also had, I think, Penny Wong's was done. And then you also had, who else did you had? You had Liberal MPs too. You had Dutton, had his done. And there was another person, I'm trying to remember. I think it was a Labor person. I'll have to look that up. It might have been later. But I know Dutton's for a fact his was done. And I know those other two's obviously like in here were done. And then in October, we had Lewis Continental Kitchen. So in this entire time, we didn't have any reforms to any legislation there. And at this time, they're still not, they still haven't announced. I think they did it around July. The report was released on Sydney. It took them about 3-4 months for them to do the report on Sydney. It took ages. But Lewis Continental Kitchen was attacked. In this entire time, we're still having protests the entire week. Protests. So every week, protest. Then Continental attacked. We had vandalism everywhere. Abuses, attacks. I'm going to go in. There's a few reports we're going to look at, which actually gives a better timeline. So I'm just going to fill in all these gaps here. I'm going to put in notes, and we're going to come in there. So this one here has a lot of it. Then we have the Adus attack. That's at the that's on the 6th of December 2024. Adus attack. It is later found that that Iran was behind it. The government kicked them out. Okay, so I'm just going to pause here. We'll go to 2025 in a second. I'm just going to go to the bathroom, so just bear with me. Feel free to read this article. We'll go to 2025, and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. So, let's go to the next one. So, let's look at December 2025. That is after the inquiry. So, 2025, we have a November Strike Force Pearl. So, this is Strike Force Pearl incident. So the attack on the Lost Container was among a series of anti-Semitic attacks across many eastern suburbs. Australia's largest in Wallara, blah blah blah. On the 21st of December. So there's a whole bunch here. I'm just gonna see if I can find, because there's a look. I'm looking. There's a couple that I can see that are extras. 17th of October. So that's 17th of October. 17th of October, August, Albanese said ASIO had credible evidence. Okay, in August 2025. August 2025. So, August 2025, Albanese said that ASIO had credible evidence around attack. Critically. So, 6th of December. Okay. When did they do that? August. They didn't specify. December. 6th of December. 19th of June. 19th of June. 19th of June. 19th of June, 19th of June. June.
Okay. Okay, I'm just checking to see if there's any other dates, specific dates. I want every date specifically. Killing almost 1,200 and taking hostages. When... Oh, I need to put that in there as well. I need to put in the vote. The vote. Vote at UN and stance still hasn't called out hostages, all caveats. The anti-Semitism envoy. Okay, cool. So one of the ones I want to find is I want to find when the anti-Semitism envoy was announced. So the anti-Semitism envoy announced. Okay, so July. Okay, cool, sweet. July 9th, 2024. Because if we're starting to look at all of these, we want to look at one of the things we really want to look at is we really want to look at the timeline. We really want to look at everything in a bigger picture because, and I'm just going to change to my scenes so you can see me. We really. And I strongly say this, is that we really want to look at everything from a bigger picture. We want to look at all of this, and we want to say, hey, this is a timeline of events, and this shows a level of incompetence. Because if there are some things that he's done that's good, then that's good. But the reason why I don't like the way he's done it is because every single time he's done something, he's always put a caveat on it. So a prime example, and I'm just going to show you my timeline here. Just let me get rid of my navigation. So on the timeline, I'm looking at the timeline to fix anti-Semitism, but we look at 2023, right? And then we look at October. There's a little bit of other things here. Is that every single thing he's done throughout the entire time is that the government kicked them out. Is that when they announced the anti-Semitism kicked, one sec, the government kicked run out due to reports. Is that like, if we look at the anti-Semitism envoy, they announced that on the 9th of July, right? 9th of July. So let me go into July. The 9th of July, 2024. But what did they do? They announced the anti-Semitism envoy and the Islamophobia envoy the same time. And I don't think the anti-Semitism envoy has still, the Islamophobia envoy has still released their report. So Islamophobia report release date. Anti-Semitism report release date is what I'm looking for. Release date. Yeah, they did it at the exact same time. I remember specifically, right? And then let's look at the reports. Look at reports. I have the anti-Semitism one here. I just don't have the Islamophobia one. Islamophobia report. Okay, I think I found it. September 2025. Okay, cool. Sweet. Perfect. I've got both of those. So, let's see if there's any stats on the instances. It's all fluff. All of it. It's all about Gaza. Where's the anti-Semitism? Please tell me how many there are. Yeah, they don't have tangible evidence. They've just got all this he says, she says. Let's try to find. Does this one have fluff too? I don't think it would. Surely it wouldn't. Yeah, cool. So it's actually got stats. So stats in terms of incidences. Perfect. So that's the thing, right? And that's the numbers. So the reason why I'm very, very, very strong on this issue is you look at the Islamophobia incidences and then you look at the anti-Semitism incidences, and the Islamophobia is all fluff, like he's thinking something bad. We think that people don't like Muslims, right? But the anti-Semitism is a tag, a name, a calling, an attack, something bad that's actually physically there, that isn't just a casual racism. You know, someone doesn't say it, but they think it, right? There's no attacks. There's no you're a dirty Jew. There's no you're dirty Muslim or whatever. There's nothing like that. There's no tangible things that they have said in their report. Now, if they have a report that I'm looking at, like they've just done a survey, there's nothing in there that says it. Like, I want to find it. Let me try to find it. Like, I just can't find. Here's the recommendations. Let's try to find. Did they just say what I thought I said? Yeah, us first them. You're the ones creating the us first them. Thank you very much. Whatever. It's anti-Muslim, but there's no incidences of attacks. Oh, that's another one I want to get. I want to get MPs. MPs, comments. No call-outs. I should be doing work, but let's do this video. Okay, so... find it. I just want to like. There's nothing. It's all fluff, mate. Like, where's your stats? What the absolute living Christ? Like, this one here has stats. They say there's been an X amount of increase. There's been over 2,000 attacks. There's this. There's definition, objectives, actions. Objectives, actions. Issues, effectives, actions. Issues, effective actions. Issues, effective actions. Like, that's just key takeaways, key actions. Here's the issue. Here's how we fix it. Here's the issue. Here's how we fix it. Like, Julian Siegel Very well structured. Thank you very much. You've done well. You've done well. Like, I can't fault this. I mean, there are other things that you've missed, but overall, it's a very, very effective strategy. Very strong. One thing I also want to get up is Ira. Okay. So I want to look at the when was the cabinet? It was the Senate inquiry into universities, and then the IRA definition. Unis back down on it. Okay, cool. So the group of eight cities. We're going to be filling in a lot of timelines here. A lot of timelines. IHRA. This is before that. I got to find it earlier. No, they didn't agree. They were told to. Yeah, that's the one. Josh Burns did really well on this one. I remember this inquiry. Okay. I'm going to make a quick call. One might, if they're available. Perfect. Okay, we're in recovery phase. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So, okay, guys. Sorry, I'm just reading some notes, some updates on different things. Just give me a minute. I will be back with you in a second. I'm just investigating some stuff that's just happened. Nothing too bad, nothing too serious. I'm just getting updates on the last 24 hours. Group, blah, 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 blah. Cool, 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 cool. Cool, cool. Well, that's good. We've got all these guys. Perfect. Oakley dokley. So, this one is, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to go, February 2020, 2025. We'll go Feb, we'll go 12th, and then we're going to go, unis told to adopt IRA definition. That was published 10 months ago. Okay, group of 8. I gotta find an older result for this. This is not right. They did not do that. They did not adopt it. Believe Peabody. This is a lot of shit. this article is trash. It's absolute trash. I want to start. I'm going to do the universities. I'm going to try to find it, but I just want to preface this by explaining what the IRA definition of anti-Semitism is, because it's going to give you a big context as to why I'm looking for it. So I'm looking for it because it's a key tenet to fixing the problem. And they weren't told to adopt IRA's working definition of anti-Semitism. They were sort of told they should, and they said no. Look at the reports, MP, Senate, you backs down on it. Yeah, group of 8. So the university's excuse was, at the time, their excuse was it stifles debate. Now, anyone who's read the definition knows full well that there are caveats in there for debate. It is very well written specifically for that. So you can tell they haven't read the actual piece of paper that they're criticizing. They haven't read it at all. They're like, we're going to create our own one. Well, if it's worked in other countries, why isn't it going to work here? It's worked in every other country and it's worked out perfectly fine and they've stamped it out. So let's read them perfectly, because they say that you can't criticize Israel. You can criticize Israel. That is the definition right there, right? So let me get this there. So the first one is calling for aiding or justifying the killing and harming of Jews in the name of radical ideological extremist views of religion. That's one of them, right? Making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations of Jews as such of the power of Jews as collective, such as especially but not exclusively the myth of the world Jewish conspiracy or Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other society institutions. So one particular one is they always talk about the Jewish lobby or the Israeli lobby, right? Well, if we look at the numbers, like in America, the Jewish groups that are not Israeli, but they are pro-Israel. It's AIPAC, right? And they probably spend, I think it's like $10 to $50 million. There are billions being spent by Qatar. They don't control it. If anything, they're against it. They're just better at using the resources. Which, does that make them evil? No, because everyone fucking does it. Everyone does it. Same thing here. Stupid. So, yeah. Accusing Jews as people of being responsible for real and imagined wrongdoings committed by a single Jewish person, group, or even acts committed by non-Jews. I mean, look at all the stuff that's happened recently, right? Like all the different attacks on people dying and stuff. Always blame the Jews. Always. Oh, it was a Jewish conspiracy theory. It was Mossad. It was this. It was that. That's one particular piece, right? That there. Now, can you accuse that person of it if they've done it? Yeah, of course. But you're accusing something of stuff that is real or imagined that you think is a Jew. Is caused by Jewish people as a collective. It's lumping them together. It's stereotyping where it's unfounded, you know? And always doing it. Like if you did it once, understandable. But if you're doing it time and time again, it goes through a pattern. So you got that. Denying the facts, scope of mechanism, gas chambers, international genocide of people at the hands of the National Socialists. Basically, Holocaust denial. We get that a lot by a lot of people like that. You get it by a lot of Muslims. Not all, but a lot of senior clerics do it. Accusing Jews as people or Israel as a state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. Blatant right there. Accusing Jews, citizens, of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interests of their own nations. Once again, saying, well, you're not really a Jew. You're part of a collective over there. And most Jews want to live here. I mean, look at Josh. He loves the country. He's an Australian first and a Jew second. He loves Australia more than he loves Jews. Like, he loves his country, right? You know, he likes his fellow people, but especially when they're being attacked in his country, but he is for his country first. He was a Trojan, for God's sakes. Denying Jewish people the right to self-determination by claiming the existence of the State of Israel is a racist endeavor. Well, look, every other country has a country on earth and no one criticizes them. Look at America. Is America a racist endeavor? Is Canada a racist endeavor? Is Germany a racist endeavor? Is Turkey a racist endeavor? I can tell you certainly that they don't allow certain groups in that country along with other countries. So are they a racist endeavor? I would think not, especially given that 20% of the population of Israel is of Muslim descent and about 1% is Christian. So it might actually be more. I think it might be like 5%. Applying double standards by requiring of it behaviours not expected or demanded of any other democratic nation. You know, restraint. These are the types of things that they are saying that are anti-Semitic, which is true. A lot of these goes to one tenet, which is don't label them if you wouldn't label someone else. That's what this is. Most of this is if you label Israel with this, make sure you can label someone else with the same thing. That's the thing. Why are they unique? They shouldn't be unique, but you're making them unique. You're making it specifically about them. You're targeting them specifically because you think it is okay. It is not okay. Using symbols, you know, claiming Jews killed Jesus, blood libels, drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of Nazis. You're basically saying they've added that. That one's new. That one's actually very new. But you're labeling them that. You're basically saying you are this. Well, no, they're not. Like, how are they that? Prove to me that they're that. You know? And people are individual, and you're basically labeling that which the enemy is. Like that which the people that attack them are. And you might think what's going on in Gaza is abhorrent. Most people do. Most Israelis do. But how would you solve that problem? That's what I ask most people, and no one can answer that. I'll give you $1,000 if you can answer me that. If you can tell me, how would you have solved the Gaza problem without saying not this, by saying what you would have done, then yeah, I could probably tell you how I think they should have done it. And they're not going to like it. You're not going to like it. But at least it's something. I would have said, you know what? Israel should have stood behind there, been the back of the force, and they should have told the rest of the world, you're fighting this battle. We're not fighting it. We're going to force you to go in there and clean house. That's your job. So the rest of the world would be held responsible just as equally as Israelis would have. But Israelis didn't. I can understand why they didn't do it, because they didn't trust the rest of the world to clean up their mess. They didn't trust them. I wouldn't either. But if I was doing it, I would, at the very start, I would have said, you know what? Australia, America, the rest of the world, you're going to be coming in here and cleaning up this mess. You're going to clean house. You're going to go and get the hostages back. You're going to go in. We're not going to do any bombs. We're not going to bomb anything. You're going to be doing the bombing if you want to bomb. We're not going to be doing shit. It's all on you guys. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, everyone. Your job. Go and clean house. There you go. We'll stand behind you. You'll go into the house, house by house. You'll clean house. You'll pull everyone out. You'll go through. You'll do it all. There's a bomb there and you die. There you go. That's your fault. Your job. You got to fix it. See ya. We'll see you when it's done. Simple. That's what I would do. And then the last one is holding Jews collectively responsible for the actions of the state of Israel. Why, as a Jew, should I be attacked? I mean, there are several pages that I know of that get daily threats and daily abuses. And they claim they're Australian Jewish pages. Where's Israel involved in that? They're not. And you still abuse them. How is that fair? How is that right? You would not do that of any other group. I don't hold people with wrong for the state of Iran. One of my closest friends is Iranian. So, I'm talking quite a lot. Anyway, let's move on. So, but then you get messages like this. Bless you, none of us should have to hide. This is a Christian. None of us should have to hide. Criminals are the ones who cause you to have to hide. Thank you so much to this person. Thank you for a great speech. These fill me with joy when I see them. They make me happy. They're actually really, really lovely. So it's been a long day. We've made it halfway there. We just need to fill in some of the others. So I've read you the definition of anti-Semitism. I'm gonna talk about. This is the report there. Okay. We might watch. Do I want to watch that? No. We looked at the history. I kind of want to move straight into it because some of the things that have been implemented I can go on all day about how the government's acted. I can go on all day about all the things that they have failed to do. And there's a lot of things that they have failed to do. But oh my God, I've been talking for an hour and a half. But what I want to do is I want to go into tangible things that I think we can fix. You know, it's an hour and a half. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to go grab something to eat. I'll come back. I won't do this particular piece about looking at the history. I'm going to go back and do it. I'm going to do a little bit of research. I'm going to get ChatGPT to help me to find those articles, and I'm going to go into those articles, confirm those articles are right, put them in there, and then that way we have a timeline, and I can do shorter videos for you guys with all of that. Yeah, and then but I want to go into actual content. So yeah. One sec. Explain different politics and the Okay, cool. So I'm just going to go into that. I'm going to go have a break. We'll come back. We'll go into some of the tangible things we can fix. I've got a few notes and we'll go into those in detail. And yeah, I'll see you guys in a bit.